Imagine living in a time when everything you thought you knew was being questioned. This was the world of René Descartes, a French thinker who lived in the 17th century. The old ways of understanding the world, based on ancient Greek ideas and religious tradition, were starting to crumble under the weight of new scientific discoveries. People like Galileo were looking at the stars and finding that the old books were wrong. This uncertainty was unsettling for many, but for Descartes, it was a challenge. He wanted to find a way to build knowledge on a foundation that was completely solid, something that no one could ever doubt. This desire to start from scratch is why he is often called the father of modern philosophy. Descartes was a brilliant mathematician, and he loved the certainty that mathematics provided. In geometry, you start with simple truths, like the definition of a straight line, and from there, you can build complex, proven arguments that are absolutely true. He wondered if he could do the same for all knowledge. Could he find a starting point for philosophy that was as certain as 2 + 2 = 4? To do this, he decided he needed a special method. He wouldn't just accept what he had been taught by his teachers or what he had read in books. Instead, he would embark on a radical journey of doubt, a mission to tear down all his old beliefs, to see if anything was left standing. His plan was simple, but extreme. He would treat any belief that could be doubted, even in the slightest, as if it were completely false. It was like inspecting a barrel of apples. If you suspect some apples might be rotten, you don't just pick out the obviously bad ones. The rot could have spread. The safest way, Descartes reasoned, is to tip out all the apples and inspect each one individually before putting it back in the barrel. This is what he decided to do with his own beliefs. He would empty his mind of everything he thought he knew, and only allow back in those ideas that were absolutely 100% certain and beyond any possible doubt. This approach was revolutionary. Before Descartes, most philosophy involved building upon the ideas of past thinkers. But Descartes wanted a clean break. He wasn't interested in commenting on what Plato or Aristotle had said. He wanted to discover the truth for himself, using his own reason as his guide. His goal was not to end up with no beliefs, but to find at least one belief that was so secure it could serve as the firm foundation for a whole new system of knowledge. This methodical search for certainty, beginning with a dramatic and sweeping doubt, would change the course of Western thought forever and set the stage for the modern age of science and philosophy. Descartes began his project by sitting alone by his fire, resolving to demolish all his former opinions. First, he considered his senses. Can he trust what he sees, hears, and touches? It seems obvious that he can. He can see the fire in front of him and feel its warmth. But then he remembered that his senses have tricked him before. A stick in water looks bent, but it is straight. Things that are far away look small, but they are large. Since his senses had deceived him in the past, even once, he decided he could not trust them completely. For his project, if something wasn't trustworthy all the time, it had to be thrown out. So, the evidence of the senses was the first thing to go into the pile of rejected beliefs. Next, Descartes thought about the fact that he was awake and sitting by the fire. This seemed certain. But then he had another unsettling thought. What if he was dreaming? He had had dreams before that felt incredibly real. In those dreams, he was convinced he was awake, only to wake up and realize it was all a fantasy. How could he be absolutely sure that he wasn't dreaming right now? There is no definitive test, no special sign, that proves you are awake and not in a very vivid dream. Because he could not be 100% certain that he wasn't dreaming, he had to conclude that he could doubt whether his body and the entire physical world around him were real. Taking his doubt a step further, Descartes considered even the truths of mathematics. Surely, 2 + 3 = 5 is true whether you are awake or dreaming? This seems impossible to doubt. But Descartes was a master of pushing doubt to its limits. He imagined a powerful and malicious demon, an evil genius whose sole purpose was to deceive him. This demon could be tricking his mind into thinking that 2 plus 3 equals 5, when in reality it does not. This evil demon could be manipulating all his thoughts, making him believe things that are false. It is an extreme and unlikely scenario, but the mere possibility of it was enough for Descartes. If it's even thinkable, then it's doubtable. With the evil demon hypothesis, Descartes had managed to sweep away almost everything. He couldn't trust his senses. He couldn't be sure the physical world existed. He couldn't even be certain about the basic truths of mathematics. He had emptied the barrel of apples completely. It seemed he was left with nothing at all. His entire world, both the one outside and the one inside his mind, had dissolved into a sea of doubt. Was there anything left? Was there a single thing that could survive this onslaught of skepticism? He was floating in an abyss of uncertainty, having systematically dismantled every belief he once held dear in his relentless quest for one solid rock of truth. Just when it seemed that nothing was certain, Descartes had a sudden and brilliant insight. He was in the process of doubting everything. He was thinking about the evil demon, about dreams, and about his untrustworthy senses. He was thinking, even if an evil demon was deceiving him, he had to exist in order to be deceived. A demon can't deceive something that doesn't exist. Even if he was dreaming, he had to exist in order to dream. In the very act of doubting, he was confirming his own existence as a thinking thing. He could doubt that he had a body, that the world was real, or that 2 plus 3 equals 5, but he could not possibly doubt that he was the one doing the doubting. This led him to his famous and foundational conclusion, cogito, ergo sum, which is Latin for I think, therefore I am. This was the one unshakable truth that survived his radical method of doubt. It was the first apple he could confidently place back in the barrel. He couldn't think it away because the very act of trying to do so would prove it. If he thought I do not exist, the I doing the thinking would have to exist to have that thought. This wasn't an argument in the traditional sense. It was an immediate intuition. The moment he grasped the idea of his own thinking, he also grasped the certainty of his own existence. What did Descartes mean by thinking? For him, it was a very broad term. It included not just reasoning and calculating, but also doubting, understanding, affirming, denying, willing, refusing, imagining, and even sensing, or at least seeming to sense. All of these are activities of the mind. So I think therefore I am means that as long as you are conscious in any of these ways, you can be absolutely certain that you exist. You might be wrong about what you are seeing or what you are feeling, but you cannot be wrong that you are seeming to see or seeming to feel. The experience of consciousness itself is the proof of existence. This discovery was a turning point. Descartes had found his Archimedean point, the firm and immovable spot on which he could build his entire system of knowledge. He had established his own existence, not as a body, but as a res cogitans, a thinking thing. This was the first principle of his new philosophy. From this single point of certainty, he would later try to prove the existence of God and, through God's goodness, the reliability of his senses, and the reality of the external world. Having established his own existence as a thinking thing, Descartes faced a new problem. He was certain he was a mind, but he was still doubting that he had a body. This led him to a famous distinction between the mind and the body. He concluded that they were two completely different kinds of substances. The mind, he argued, is a non-physical, thinking substance. Its essential nature is consciousness. The body, on the other hand, is a physical, extended substance. It takes up space, has weight and shape, and operates like a machine according to the laws of physics. This idea of a non-physical mind inhabiting and controlling a physical body became known as Cartesian dualism. This separation of mind and body raised difficult questions that philosophers are still debating today. If the mind is non-physical and the body is physical, how do they interact? How can your non-physical feeling of wanting to raise your arm cause your physical arm to actually go up? Descartes himself suggested they connect in a small gland at the base of the brain called the pineal gland, but this was more of a guess than a solution. The philosopher Gilbert Ryle later mockingly called this idea the ghost in the machine, the ghost being the immaterial mind and the machine being the mechanical body. The problem of how mind and matter connect remains a central puzzle in philosophy. Descartes' method of doubt and his focus on the thinking self changed philosophy forever. By starting with his own consciousness, he placed the individual at the center of the quest for knowledge. This was a major shift away from relying on external authorities like the church or ancient texts. His emphasis on reason and clear, logical steps also laid the groundwork for the scientific method. He showed that by breaking down complex problems into smaller parts and building arguments from a secure foundation, we could achieve a new kind of certainty about the world. He inspired generations of thinkers to trust in the power of human reason. So, why does Descartes still matter? His questions are our questions. How can I be sure that what I see is real? What is the relationship between my mind and my brain? How can I know anything for certain? Descartes' journey from radical doubt to the certainty of I think, therefore I am, is a powerful demonstration of the search for truth. He taught us to be critical of our own beliefs, to question assumptions, and to seek solid ground for our knowledge. He may not have answered every question he raised, but by asking them in such a clear and forceful way, he set the agenda for much of modern philosophy and science, making him a truly foundational figure in the history of thought.